issue, if you don't know the facts, then what you say may bear no relationship to the reality of what is possible, may bear no relationship to what is actually needed. And to that extent, the League of Young Socialists must see itself as being on the cutting edge of research in this party, not just social affairs, that's important too, but research in terms of helping us to see the way forward. You know, I once heard when I have to tell the parliamentary party that there comes a point in your political career when it is difficult for you to see into the future simply because you are a creature of the time within which you were born and the time within which you were functioning. And he made the point to say that a Grantley Adams will have difficulty in understanding certain aspects of where you must take Barbados. A Grantley Adams will have difficulty in understanding that a Barbados had an economy that was not primarily based on sugar. In his day, the talk was about sugar windfall and sugar strikes, and all of the discussion centered around labor in the context of the plantation and the merchant class. This is now a country where Canadian companies invest in Barbados to invest in the rest of the world, and we are the second or third highest ranking entity in terms of the number of companies that come through here to invest in the rest of the world. They recognize that they don't have the same benefits of an American multinational in terms of scale, so they have to look for every competitive edge that they can have in terms of taxation and other operational aspects of their cost. Tom understood that, but a Grantley would not have been able to understand that. There are things that Oinasa will not relate to, or even me, that many of you will understand and want to take a Barbados to. And the party must be capable of admitting your input in terms of shaping the kind of government that we want. But on another level, it is important that I talk to you about the kind of politics that we practice. You can't educate the people and expect to treat to the population as if they are still uneducated or illiterate. You can't educate the people and believe that you can talk down to a population as if people can't reason. And part and parcel of what has happened is that we are still in a mode where, in particular, the Democratic Labour Party feels that they can take people's common sense and knowledge for granted and treat people as if they know no better. And that is unfortunate, because, as I said, both parties work to help educate the population that we have. And what is important is not only the ability to reason, because if I have information and I share the information with you, there's a 70% chance that you and I are going to come to the same conclusion. But the ability to share that information all of a sudden becomes a precious asset. We used to be able to rely on absolutely regular data from a number of government agencies. It's not coming forth. Is there something to hide? Why is it that you are not being shared with the data? Why is it that you are not being talked to about the progress of things? These are important issues, because if you don't agitate and demand it, people will take you for granted. And your only opportunity then is every 5 years to express your position. And having educated people, we've come too far for that to be the only tool that is available to the young people in this country. The truth is that in addition to the issue of reasoning together, it is the question of how we treat to one another. And I say this, especially in the context of what has been happening in recent times, between Kadoomat Day and when the incident, the unfortunate incident happened at Campus Strand a couple weeks ago. Within that period, 10 young Barbadians died. Some died in car accidents, Some died in shooting, some died in a fire which was the subject of a criminal act. These are people who went to primary school, who went to secondary school, some were at university. These are people who in some instances had children. These are people who in many instances had a bright future ahead of them. These are people who we were counting on to help build out this country. And the reckless loss of life, whether through criminal activity or reckless behavior, has to be something that we need to focus on, because we cannot afford that the very young people who must carry this country into the future lose their lives at a very stage when they have not even begun to truly live their lives. Now, you may ask me, what does that have to do with the next statement that I'm going to make? How we treat to one another is at the kernel, at the core of the kind of society that we want to build, the kind of gentler society that I'm talking about. And there's a simple biblical saying that I have followed my life and in public life that has served me well. But not just public life, just in everyday dealings with life. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And that statement is so powerful in the context of helping you to recognize that it helps you be considerate. It helps you be empathetic. Yesterday morning I spent 2 hours on slam. I had a ball. I promise to go back next thing and play music instead. But you know what struck me? When what drives me crazy came on, you had 15 minutes of comments that were almost exclusively about 2 things: people's lack of consideration for others, and the perception of hypocrisy and unfairness generally. And it struck me that the 2 things that I have always tried to do, that more and more we need to talk with people and cause people to recognize that being an adult doesn't mean that you all of a sudden know how to meander your way through life, and that there are certain things that are still important. How I treat you matters. I'm not going to treat you in a way that I don't want to be treated. From as banal as driving on the road and splattering water on you when it's raining, to how I treat you in a work environment, to how I treat you in the church, to how I treat you in a political party, to how I treat you as a friend. It matters. And if it is not good enough for you to accept for yourself, then you know it is not good enough for you to treat someone else that way. And if every person were just to do that, immediately we would have an improvement in the quality of service and in the kind of life that we enjoy in this country. There are too many stories of people going into entities, establishments, public or private sector, and being treated in a way that causes people to feel offended. When that same person who is treating you that way would be the first to block if somebody would treat them that way when they went into the same service. And I'm saying that you hold the opportunity to influence your peers. You hold the opportunity to make that defining difference. Being in a political party is not only about running. Inheriting the legacy of Grant Adams and Tom Adams and all of the other leaders of this party is not only about being able to go to Parliament. It is about building a society in which a kinder, gentler, more prosperous, healthier, better educated Barbadian is capable of emerging. And don't believe that you have an inherent right to prosperity. Because I have seen countries in our lifetime move from prosperity to on the brink of poverty. Jamaica was the #1 developing country in the world in 1970. And we see Jamaica today that has literally been brought to its knees as a result of its debt crisis. Guyana went to independence in the same year as Barbados in 1966. Was adjudged at the time to have better development opportunities than Singapore. But you have grown up in a world where Singapore has transitioned from the third world to the first world and is heralded as a beacon in terms of development in the world. And you have seen Guyana assessed as a highly indebted poor country, otherwise known as a fixed country. So don't believe that we have an inherent or divine right to prosperity and success. It comes from what you do. If you don't plant the seed, you cannot reap the benefit. There's nothing magical about it.